In 1 week of 2006, one song was played on American pop radio 9,637 times, a record nothing has touched since. And the woman who set it might still not be the main pop girl of the year, because 2006 gave us 3 women, 6 #1 singles between them, and only 1 crown. One of them topped America and Britain in the same year with 2 completely different songs. One of them closed the year with a December release that turned into the longest #1 run of the era, and one of them had the record. This is the main pop girl, 2006. Let's go. Before the contenders, the landscape, because 2006 was deep enough that women with genuine #1s don't make the cut this year. These 3 all had a moment, but none of them had the year. Fergie. London Bridge went to #1 and stayed there for 3 weeks and finished at 22 on the year-end Hot 100. That's a genuine smash. The problem is the calendar. The Duchess didn't land until September, which makes hers a half-year case in a year where the top 3 were working all 12 months. Christina Aguilera, Back to Basics, debuted at #1 with 346,000 copies sold in its first week, and it's arguably the most ambitious album anyone in this field made. A double album of retro soul in the middle of the Timbaland era. But Ain't No Other Man finished at 32 on the year-end chart, and the singles never caught up with the album event. The album deserves more than 2 minutes, which is why it's getting a full deep dive for its 20th anniversary. That's coming in August on the channel. And Rihanna, Here's the Future, arriving early. SOS spent 3 weeks at #1. Unfaithful was a year-end top 30 hit. She was 18 years old, and she put 2 songs in the year-end top 30. The Empire starts in 2007. We all know what's coming, but 2006 is the warning shot, and the rest of this field heard it. Right, the actual contenders, 3 of them, and the order I'm presenting them in is not the order they finish. Nelly Furtado. Let's start with the loop from the open. The woman who topped America and Britain with 2 different songs. That's Nelly Furtado. And in 2006, she pulled off something nobody else in this field managed. Promiscuous spent 6 weeks at #1 in the Hot 100, and here's the detail that matters. It's the longest running #1 by a woman that started and finished inside 2006. It ended the year at #3 on the year-end Hot 100, the highest placement by any woman that year. Sean Paul and Daniel Powter were the only records in America bigger than Promiscuous in 2006. That's it. That's the whole list. Meanwhile, in the UK, a completely different song was doing the damage. Maneater spent 3 weeks at #1 over there and finished 7th on the UK year-end best-selling list. 2 different countries, 2 different #1s, same album, same year. And the album itself held up its end of the bargain. Loose went to #1 on the Billboard 200 and threw off 4 UK top 10 singles. Maneater at 1, Promiscuous at 3, All Good Things at 4, and Say It Right at 10. That last one was still clinging to the American chart as the year closed, which tells you the campaign didn't run out of road. The calendar did. Here's her case for the crown. Loose was the sound of 2006. The Timbaland pulse that everyone spent the next 2 years chasing, she got there first, and she conquered both sides of the Atlantic doing it. Nobody else on this list topped the US and the UK with 2 different records. If the main pop girl is the woman whose music defined the year, this is a very hard case to beat. If you're enjoying the receipts, this is what this channel does best. The divas, the charts, and the era taken seriously. Hit subscribe and you'll catch the rest of this season because it's building to something. Back to the contenders. Now, the second loop from the open. The December release that turned into the longest #1 run of the era. But to get there, we have to start in January because Beyoncé's 2006 is a story about owning the bookends of the year. Check On It opened the year at #1 and stayed there for 5 weeks. 5 weeks in January before anyone else in the field had even cleared their throat. It finished 10th on the year-end Hot 100. Then, September, B-Day, released to coincide with her 25th birthday, opens with 541,000 copies in a week. The biggest first week by any woman in 2006, and nearly 200,000 more than Back to Basics managed a few weeks earlier. Deja Vu had already gone to #1 in the UK in August. The album event of the year by numbers was hers. And then December. Irreplaceable reaches #1 in the middle of the month and doesn't leave. 10 consecutive weeks. The longest run at #1 the Hot 100 had seen in years. long enough that Billboard would eventually crown it the biggest chart hit the following year. And while that was happening, Dreamgirls was in cinemas, and she was on every screen in America in a second medium simultaneously. Her case for the crown: she owned January, September, and December. The year opens on her, peaks on her album, and closes with her at #1 on the singles chart and the box office at the same time. Nobody else in this field can claim those bookends, and B-Day turns 20 on September the 4th this year. That video is coming. Which brings us back to where we started. 9,637 plays in 1 week. That record belongs to Hips Don't Lie. The week ending June the 2nd, 2006, the most played song in a single week in the history of American pop radio. The record it broke belongs to Holla Back Girl at 9,582 spins. The record it set has never been touched. 2 weeks later, it was #1 on the Hot 100, and it topped the UK chart as well. #1 in both countries within the same summer. And the year-end numbers are where her case sharpens. Hips Don't Lie finished 5th on the US year-end Hot 100 and 3rd on the UK year-end sellers list, past 500,000 copies sold there. She's the only contender in 2006, the only one who finished in the year-end top 5 on both sides of the Atlantic. Furtado's double was 2 songs, 2 countries. Shakira did it with 1 song, everywhere, all at once. Because that's the thing about Hips Don't Lie. The US and the UK were just 2 of its territories. It became the first song ever to top the Hot 100 and Billboard's Hot Latin chart simultaneously, a Spanglish record sitting on top of both American pop and the entire Latin American market at the same time, while topping charts across Europe and being performed at the World Cup final in Berlin in front of the largest television audience on the planet that year. It's widely cited as the most successful worldwide single of 2006, full stop. Her case for the crown: the wider you draw the map, the bigger her lead seems to get. On the American chart, she's top 5. On the British chart, she's top 5. And the rest of the world? It isn't even close. In 2006, one woman had the song, Everywhere, and that was Shakira. So, 3 claims, all real, time to rank them. 3rd place first. The honorable mention, #3 is Beyoncé. And let's be clear about what she earns this on, because it's all inside 2006. 5 weeks at #1 before January was even out, the biggest female opening week of the year, and a UK #1 in August. That's a real campaign, and it's why she's on the podium and not in the landscape. But here's what the calendar takes away from her. Irreplaceable reached #1 in mid-December and did most of its 10-week reign in 2007. Billboard scored it as 2007's biggest hit, not 2006's. The weapon that would have beaten the other 2 women on this list is going to be fired in someone else's episode. What 2006 actually contains is a huge January, a huge September, and a fuse lit in December. And that's a bronze, not a crown. Beyoncé will be back, and we all know how that story goes. Now, my runner-up, my #2, is Nelly Furtado. The strongest American case in the field, #3 on the year-end chart, higher than anyone else there, with the album that defined the sound of the year. If this series scored America alone, I think she would take it. And the Transatlantic double is a genuine piece of music history. But the moment you look past the Hot 100 in the UK chart, the double becomes the ceiling. Promiscuous was an American story, Maneater was a British one, and neither was a global one. In 2006, one song was. Which means the main pop girl of 2006 is Shakira. One song, #1 in both of our primary markets, top 5 on both year-end charts, the only contender who can say that, and a radio record that still stands 20 years later. And while it ruled American pop, it spent 8 weeks at #1 on Billboard's Hot Latin chart, the first time in history one record sat on top of both at the same instant, from the first South American artist to ever top the Hot 100. Then she performed it at the World Cup final in Berlin in front of the biggest television audience of the year. 2006 is the rare year where the biggest song in America, the biggest song in Britain, and the biggest song on Earth were all the same record. The woman who made it gets the crown. And if you made it this far, drop a Colombian flag in the comments. I want to see how many of you actually stayed for the crowning. If you've got thoughts on the verdict, and I know some of you do, the listening room is where those arguments happen in real time. That's my Patreon. First listens when the big releases drop, unscripted discussions, me without a script defending calls like the one I just made. The link is in the description below. And a promise for this series, the wrap-up of the 2000s decade is coming in September, and 2006's winner Shakira goes in seeded. Every crown from here on is playing for something bigger, to stand alongside Mariah Carey as the main pop girl of the 1990s.